Hello, everybody. What's up to you all? I want to thank you for joining us on this YouTube channel. Je remercie tout le monde que nous participons dans la troisième émission. Innovative Zone là, so nous dans zone là. So je remercie nous que nous avons participé et je salue nous tout le monde. Et là, je salue tout et des invités de mock encore une fois que nous avons aujourd'hui là. Sujet à aujourd'hui là. Et après premier innovation zone qui était cryptocurrency Bitcoin, deuxième qui était fait avec Alan Cave et Fritz sous NFT, eh bien journée aujourd'hui nous allons parler de startup. Okay, we're going to be talking about startups today with Dr. Naomi Blemure that's with us here again today out from a very busy tax season. That took some time off to come and co-host this show with me. So thank you very much, everybody. It's going to be a great show. And Naomi, I turn it over to you.
Merci, Laurent. It is a pleasure for me to be here. Nous saluons tout le monde qui branché. Nous dit merci à Monsieur Fritz Charles that is back with us for a second session. And we have Mr. Jim Chu, who is also with us. Everybody should already know if you watched the last episode. Mr. Fritz Charles is a Wharton Business School graduate, a crypto educator, and a programmer at Instagram. And also we have with us a special guest, Mr. Jim Chu. Mr. Jim Chu is an entrepreneur, investor, and a philanthropist dedicated to pioneering new ways to apply innovative technology and finance to drive equitable economic development in frontier markets worldwide. Jim has spent decades working in tech in the US, Europe, the Caribbean, and across Africa. He previously founded Glo IT and Access to Water social enterprise in Haiti. And today he's the founder and CEO of Untapped Global.
Small businesses are the backbone of every economy. But in many emerging markets, small businesses are left out from financing.
Whose mission is to bridge the investment gap in frontier markets by creating alternative financing opportunities for entrepreneurs, and the Nest, an international investment network connecting emerging market startups with investors from around the world. Jim has undergraduate and graduate degrees from Stanford University. Thank you so very much, Mr. Jim Chu. Fritz Charles, welcome to Innovation Zone.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for being here. It's always great to talk innovation. It's always great to talk tech. And it's always great to feel that we're educating millions, thousands of people that want to know more about technology, that want to know more about innovation. This is the topic of the show today. It's startups. Startups is the key to any economy and any development of any country in the world. I understood that in 1998, when I founded Global Voice Group. And it's been a very incredible journey. So I wanted to bring on, today, two very key people into that movement. One is Fritz Charles, that you all know. Today is second Fritz Charles. Fritz, tout le monde a demandé m'bou. Je dis, monsieur, qui est-ce qui Fritz Charles là? Moi, monsieur, gen bagay. Je dis, ah, moi, je bagay, papa. So, and then Jim speaks French. So, Jim parle français, pour ceux qui ne savent pas. Donc, on va aller français, anglais, créole. On va essayer de faire ça pour que tout le monde soit satisfait. Tout le monde parle.
Mais on parle créole pour commander Babancourt, tout.
Oh, bon, ça me bat comme ça.
Commander Babancourt, ce programme-là.
Bon, mais bon, bagay, bon. Le programme n'a fait caser là. Bon, donc c'est bien le programme Relax. Nous allons parler de technologie avec innovation. Et maintenant, on va commencer par Fritz, ok? Et maintenant, que Fritz, ou rappeler pour auditeurs, auditrices de Innovation Zone et expérience ou même dans startup, ok? Chaque startup là, okay? What's your experience in that field? And what are the prospects that you see that could be applied for Haitian startups?
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Startups. So I'll start with the defining what startups are. Startup is a new business that is created to solve a user problem. It's something that starts from the beginning. Every company that we see and we use every single day was a startup. It was started as an idea. The idea was worked upon. A team was built around it. A mission was defined. A vision was brought out, and then people went and put something together. So whether it's Delta Airlines, Google, Facebook, where I work, ExxonMobil, it all started with the idea and a person and a team. And so, it's something that everybody should be inspired to do if they see a problem that needs to be solved. And you never know where it can go. It could be one of the hugest companies in the world, right? Even Tesla was something that was a startup at once. I've been exposed to startups for over 10 years now. So the first startup that I worked at was a company called Roku TV, which distributed African movies online. And the problem there was the founder saw that, the African diaspora wanted to watch movies that reminded them of their homelands, but the movies weren't on TV in America or the U.S. It was only content from these new countries, and they wanted content from that inspired them from their homeland. And so they solved it by digitizing the movie space. Then the next startup I worked at was a company called Token Tax in the crypto space. So, the problem there was if you trade crypto in the United States or across the world, you have to pay taxes on it, and it's really, really hard to calculate your taxes. So they solved that problem for users. And then the last startup I worked at was a company called Universe, which allowed you to build a website on your phone. Not everybody has access to computers. Not everybody has access to coding. But everybody can be a creator. Everybody can get ideas out. And so the problem that they solved was allowing people to just take their phones, what everybody has, and allowing them to build out a website and getting their ideas across the world. So again, it's really about identifying a user problem, creating a solution, and then putting it out there and then working on it and iterating it. And so as far as folks in Haiti, we all know that Haiti has a lot of challenges, right? But the way to solve these challenges are to build out solutions. And these solutions can be brought forth through building out startups, starting businesses, and taking it there. And then you never know what can happen, right? The next Tesla, the next JP Morgan, the next Google, the next Carnival Cruise Lines could come from a Haitian entrepreneur that just started with solving a problem in his or her community.
Absolutely. It's such an important topic that we'll have to do probably many shows on that. In terms of talking startups and the importance of it, là n'a pas les startups, n'a pas l'importance startup, et nous te voulons inviter au monde qui c'est un plus gros investisseur en Afrique dans startup. Et puis monde ça tout, il a une affinité avec Haïti. Et c'est pour ça que c'est très important pour que Naomi avec moi nous invite Jim vienne participer dans le show parce que Jim Chu c'est pas un exemple. Premièrement, où elle parle créole. Il parle français, il parle anglais. OK, son nez qui réussit. OK, monsieur investit dans un paquet de gros compagnies et puis quel deal pour l'investir en Haïti. Donc pendant que tout le monde a parlé a fait charité en Haïti, Jim lui-même monsieur dit bon, lui-même il va mettre investissement, il va mettre l'argent en terre en Haïti dans une société. Donc, Jim, bienvenue. Welcome on.
Merci, Onville.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. It's not the nest, and it's not going. We're not pretending to be. but it's a beginning. Jim also has a great show that's called The Nest, by the way. And, we should try to do something like that for Haiti just to help the youth and help la jeunesse. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. And as you said, I do have an affinity to Haiti. It has a special place in my heart. And I think we absolutely need more innovation throughout the world, but also investment. And like you said, I first came to Haiti as a volunteer because I thought the best way to help was to be a donor, to donate money, to even be a volunteer and help with charities. But I realized that there are so many problems with the aid system, with the charity system. The incentives are all wrong. And ultimately, they really didn't solve the problems. They created short-term solutions at best. And in many situations, they made the problems worse. So I'm a big believer that if we can help startups, help entrepreneurs solve basic problems with investments, then things can change. People can make money. People can help themselves, not rely on somebody else to help them. And then feed their families, help their community feed their families, and ultimately do better. So, one of the things that I did after realizing that aid wasn't really the answer is that I started a company in Haiti with the IFC, which is a part of the World Bank. They do private investments. And we invested in a company that actually addressed the same problem that I was a volunteer trying to solve, which was to provide clean water to places that are outside of the main cities and were difficult to serve. And so we started a company called Glow IT, which has a product. If you live in Cabaret or Catemorin or Arcaye, you'll know the product. It's called Eau Vive. And the idea was to help entrepreneurs, Haitian entrepreneurs, create businesses that serve their own communities. And so, we started this company in 2012, only a couple of years after the earthquake. And today, Glow IT still serves many people throughout the country, in the north, in the south, even, and of course, near Port-au-Prince and Arcaye and other places like that. But one of the big challenges that we faced when trying to grow Glow IT was where do we find the right capital to grow? And I think that's one of the big challenges to working in Haiti and investing in Haiti. And so, in fact, the company that I run today, Untapped, our primary goal is to help entrepreneurs in emerging markets, mostly in Africa these days, not only find initial investment to get their company going, but also to grow their company. Because that's one of the areas that we did fail in when we grew Glow IT. We were unable to find enough money to grow Glow IT to what we wanted it to be. So we still are serving many people in Haiti today, but we should be serving 10 times the number that we're serving. And we hope that the company that I run today, Untapped, will be able to help the Jim Chus of 2012 and the Glow ITs of 2012 grow to be able to serve the market that they really can serve.
Merci, Monsieur Chu. On parlait de qui ça qui était vraiment fort choisi pour créer de l'OIT. Parce que nous disons comme ça que l'on fait un start-up ou chercher un problème et pour même start-up là pour trouver une solution. Pour ça spécifiquement où tu choisi pour entrer dans l'industrie de l'eau.
Well, so I entered the water sector. Parler anglais, hein?
Okay.
Pour la réponse là. I chose the water sector because somewhat by happenstance, I was a volunteer providing clean water in the camps in Haiti. But the reason I decided that starting a business was the right thing was going back to what Fritz was saying, what you were just saying now, that you have to start with a problem. And unfortunately, the issue with the aid sector was that they were solving a different problem, if I can say that. What they were solving was, let's make the donors feel better. let's get people to donate to my NGO, to my charity. And yes, of course, part of that is at least making it look like you're doing everything you can to solve the problem in Haiti or wherever it is the money is going. But oftentimes, they're not focused on what the problem is and who the customer actually is. And so I think it was what we were trying to do, what we thought was very important, was to focus on the customer, the end customer. That's the Haitian who lives in Cabaret, who can't get clean water. That's the entrepreneur in Haiti who can't start a business because it's impossible to get a loan. That's what we were trying to solve. So we created products and services that provided those people with a solution that they would pay for. So our model in Haiti with Ovive is that we would produce water in places like Akaye and other places that are outside of Port-au-Prince, and then provide that water in gallons, in the 20-liter, 5-gallon jugs, and the boutiques, the Mamsaras, would resell them, and they resell them in all the corners of every community, so that everybody can access a gallon with the même qualité que Cooligan, 25 coups. Right?
Excellent.
That's unheard of.
Excellent. And I think that is something that is very specific about comment son startup, que ou pensez non seulement de clients que ou va servir, mais ou pensez de monde qui ka vin acheter nan men en gros pour yo même al vendre en petit comme Madame Sarayo. And so, it would seem as if you were a wholesaler, right? And you were selling to them and actually giving them a livelihood.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I think it's just so important that we create a supply chain. And again, one of the other things, and my job here is not to criticize NGOs. Many NGOs do many great things. But I think one of the issues oftentimes is they forget about the existing market that's there. And so our goal at Haiti was how do we reinforce the existing entrepreneurs? How do we reinforce the market? How do we make that market work better? How do we resolve problems in the market versus taking over the services that are being delivered by Haitian businesses? So one of the things that we saw after the earthquake was free water or very cheap water given away by NGOs. Well, that put a lot of local water businesses out of business. And when the NGOs left, no more water. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were enabling the ecosystem, enabling the market to deliver the services versus taking over the delivery of services.
Thank you. And I think that before we continue, I have to ask this question because I know a lot of young millennial professionals, young professionals, or even senior professionals who are here in the United States and thinking that they actually, I might want to start a business in Haiti. What did that look like? What was the process for you to actually start Glo Haiti from A to Z? What were the basic steps that you had to go through?
Wow, that's a very long answer, but I'll try to cut it to a very short answer, as short as I can. First of all, it was a very difficult process. It's not easy to start a business in Haiti. It's not easy to raise money for a business in Haiti. And what I would say is that, of course, it's absolutely necessary to have the appropriate legal entities and do things properly in Haiti. At the same time, there are great vehicles and jurisdictions in order to attract investors. So if I were a American entrepreneur, a Haitian American entrepreneur, young Haitian American who wanted to do something for Haiti, I wouldn't go and volunteer. I would not do that. I wouldn't go and donate money to Haiti. I would figure out a way to start a business in Haiti, incorporate it in the United States, raise money in the United States, because there's an abundant source of capital in the United States.
Let me just translate that in Creole very quickly.
Yeah.
So, because what you said is very important. Ça que Jim expliqué là, c'est que un avantage ou bien une bah, que monsieur lui-même apprend, c'est que en Haïti, il y a un paquet d'opportunités pour investisseurs venir en Haïti. Un plus gros problème, c'est accès à capital. Donc, ça que monsieur a fait lui-même, c'est que monsieur créé, il ouvre une compagnie en Haïti qui c'est Glow Haïti et il crée une compagnie tout aux États-Unis qui c'est maison mère comme ça que il est capable de collecter investisseurs pour venir investir dans la compagnie. C'est un gros problème qui est en Haïti, c'est que loi haïtienne pas tellement avantageuse pour start-up. Donc, il y a pile des avantages, pas accès à crédit, par exemple. Mais un gens pour capable gérer le problème, ça, pour contourner le problème, c'est que ou incorporer une maison mère aux États-Unis, qu'on soit accès à banque, à capital, à investisseurs américains, qui eux-mêmes ont des fonds illimités, et puis compagnie à opérer en Haïti. Donc, Haïti lui-même, la collecte taxes normalement, mais investisseur lui-même, il doit investir dans la compagnie et faire la compagnie grandir. Donc, ça, c'est un point capital de start-up que faut nous comprendre et dans ce sens ça. Et par exemple, donc Jim, go ahead. I'm sorry that I wanted to translate that in Creole.
No.
That was an excellent point.
Gain paquet capital aux États-Unis, and so you have to really.
You can go in Creole as much as as much as permits.
I'll keep it to what makes most sense. I don't know if I'll make any sense unless I'm ordering that. But no, so yes, I think that's a critical point that you have to make it. You have to make it attractive and easy for investors to invest in your business. And not only is that meaning that you have to have a good idea and a good business, of course, but little things like where are you incorporated? That matters to investors. Because for an American investor, you want to know that your money is going into a safe jurisdiction. And so my high recommendation—
But Jim, I have a quick question there.
Yes, please.
So now I understand why creating your LLC or C Corp or whatever you in the US helps you with investments, but does it in turn potentially hurt you a little bit when you operate in Haiti?
Not at all, because it doesn't mean that it doesn't excuse you from creating an entity or working with an entity in Haiti. You have to be legally operational in whatever jurisdiction you operate in. But having a parent holding company in the US that is raising the money and that, deals with the bank accounts and deals with all those things that are easier in the United States makes it much easier to then operate in Haiti. So, excuse me. So with Glow IT, there is a international entity that held all the investment and a local entity that operates the business. And so that differentiation is very important. Even with the the entrepreneurs that I work with in Africa, the easiest companies to invest in aren't necessarily Benin companies or Togolese companies or even Kenyan companies. They're British companies or American companies that are operating in those markets.
Wow.
And so there's really two things. How do you raise money and how do you operate? And the right structure for those two things may not be the same.
That's very interesting. So ça Jim s'est expliqué là, c'est que on compagnie gen doit une façon que lui-même li ouais qui pi facile pour jouer un financement pour business ou, c'est que ou incorporer aux États-Unis et puis ou faire business en Haïti, en Afrique, dans les Caraïbes, quel que soit le reste côté au monde. Pour ça parce que investisseurs surtout marché capitaux américain yo même investi dans marché la caille côté que yo sûr ils comprennent loi, ils comprennent juridiction, ils comprennent les règles du jeu. Tandis que leur prend compagnie en Haïti, pour compte li, ou a besoin très peu de monde qui prend chance là, parce que ils ne comprennent pas les règles là. Donc c'est ça, monsieur a expliqué là, que vous capable faire une incorporation aux États-Unis, par exemple, Delaware, côté monsieur et incorporer business ou font C Corp, OK, Delaware. Donc, quand il y a demandé Naomi, qui ça C Corp là pour moun k'ap gade yo là qui ça et puis pour incorporer tout parce que nous va arrêter dans incorporation, OK, nous va le bail 2 3 et gens pour moun ka incorporer, yo ka faire dans n'importe qui pays au monde, tout. Et mais qui ça C Corp là, qui avantage C Corp là ou Naomi. Alors faut me rappeler que Naomi son gros comptable, OK, donc il va expliquer nous ça C Corp là.
Donc, merci, Laurent. Donc, m'a ba nous un brief overview pour comparer un S Corp avec un C Corp. So, un C Corp, c'est standard coopération under the IRS rules here in the United States. Okay? So, IRS is the Internal Revenue Service. C Corp là, c'est standard. Si que ou aller, par exemple, soit vivre en Floride, ou aller sous Sunbase, ou aller et créer une incorporation, automatiquement, la yon C Corp. OK? L'autre option que vous gagnez, c'est yon S Corp. S Corp là is what is elected as a special tax status with the IRS. C'est yon élection que ou mandé IRS pour venir yon S Corp, pas vrai, et puis yo ba ou yon special tax status. Le bouton de IRS a bon spécial, ça veut dire comme ça que ou poil payer moins taxe avec yon S Corp que ou te payer avec yon C Corp. Par exemple, pour tout le monde qui déjà comprend ça ou qui pas connaît, là où son C Corp, compagnie a payé taxe. Après ça, ou même qui met compagnie dans fin d'année, si ou te touché comme dans compagnie ou pral payer taxe. Ça relève double taxation. Pas vrai? Et différence c'est avec S Corp là, c'est un seul taxe ou payer. On dit par exemple, compagnie a te fait $200,000, l'on fin réduire toutes dépenses ou vin joindre que et compagnie a fait $50,000 pour année ou vin payer taxe sur $50,000 seulement. Et avec un C Corp, ou t'as payé taxe sur gross là et ou t'as payé taxe sur net là. C'est ça qui fait que il y a deux grosses différences entre C Corp et S Corp, mais S Corp là c'est une élection. Et pour faire élection ça, il y a une forme qui est 2553 et 2553 ou rempli forme nan ou voyer le by IRS pour demander pour faire élection ça. En pile monde pas connaît, pas vrai, depuis yo enregistre compagnie, they've just become an S Corp, they just become a C Corp, yo pas connaît que S Corp là existait et moun ça chaque année li paye taxe dans compagnie, il paye taxe et personnel li nan corp li joine dans compagnie. Bon, c'est ça, c'est un brief overview pour comprendre les différences entre C Corp et S Corp là. Une, c'est vous l'argent, une, faut payer deux fois. Monsieur Laurent?
Moi, merci nous. Et donc, ça, Naomi, merci pour précision, pour mon cap garder là, qui ça qu'on S Corp, qui ça qu'on C Corp. Et Jim, en général, l'on a incorporé ou même, et on compagnie. Ou recommander parce que ou investi dans pile compagnie en Afrique, Glo Haïti a lui-même li incorporé, li gon S Corp ou bien li gon C Corp?
Well, so Glo Haïti is not actually incorporated in the U.S. It's actually incorporated in offshore in the Caymans. But that was just a requirement from one of my investors. But yes, as Dr. Lemire mentioned, there is double taxation with a C Corp. But there are some benefits to a C Corp if you one day become a much larger company. So one of the big benefits of a C Corp for investors is that when you sell the shares of the company, if you're an investor into a small company, as defined by a company with less than 50 million in assets, that the capital gains from the sale of your shares is under federal IRS law tax exempt. So under Section 1202 of the START Act with under Obama passed in 2013, that is 100% capital gains tax free. So that's a big incentive for many investors to invest in you, and that is only applicable to C Corps. Why? Because a C Corp, the way it's designed is really to be a big corporation. You might start small, but you eventually become a big corporation. And the government, the IRS, is trying to encourage people to invest in these small companies so they can become big companies. And so that's one of the advantages of C Corps. And of course, there are many advantages of S Corps. And at the end of the day, you need to talk to experts like Dr. Lemire, who know what the pros and cons of each kind are in order to make the right decision for your company.
Thank you, Jim. And, we just want to make sure that because we're talking about startups, for us that are going into it as a small business owner, it's very important that you understand the S literally means small, right? And so as a small corporation, you do not want to expose yourself to a larger tax liability. But once you, start rolling with the big boys, right? And you have a large company that is functioning, and you have shareholders, and you are not actually a small business owner functioning for yourself, but you are actually generating revenues for your shareholders, and you are looking to make your shareholders happy with you. That's where the C Corp comes into play. And as Jim stated, you have a lot of benefits where that is concerned. But specifically for someone who's just starting, you have an idea, you have a vision, ou est bon problème que ou est dans environnement ou pour dire bon, ou est bon solution pour lui. The S Corp is the way to go in the beginning. Mais si on dit mon yo dit you're ready to, once you're ready to run with the big boys, et puis ou gen shareholders, ou gen moun ki investi dans compagnie, et job ou lor gen moun ki investi dans compagnie, c'est assurer que investeur fait l'argent. So the C Corp is the way to go. And it all depends on your tax accountant going to pour assurer qu'on bon comptable ou expliquer comptable là mais qui ça me veut faire, et si que ou pas pral issue stock ou pas pral gain shareholders, 9 times out of 10 comptable là a directo dans direction pour gain en S Corp. Mais si que ou pas gain investors ou pas vle vendre shares, et ou ka arriver non point que you want the company to go public, right? These are the right structures for a C Corp. So depending on what you're doing, qui sont à faire, et qui j'en parle structure compagnie comptable ou abdu qui j'en parle.
But I would say, just to give really good advice to all those entrepreneurs out there, is to find a bon comptable like Dr. Blemire, to find a bon avocat, because these are tricky issues and you have to get them right. And there are a lot of benefits to one thing or another, but there isn't one size that fits all. So make sure that you get good advice and make sure that you're making the right decisions from the very beginning.
Et yon nan bagay ke mwen ka pour tout moun kap gade ki aux États-Unis, yon nan bagay ke mwen ka di, a lot of us, we have LLCs, and we have one member LLCs. Et nou pa konen ke yon one member LLC, lò fè taxou, ou fè taxou si ou fill out sa tax 1040 form plus the Schedule C. Ou pa konen ke pendant wap rempli Schedule C a, ou ta dwe elect to get an S Corp. So ça c'est très important. En pile nan nou même qui gen small business, qui pas connaît que yon LLC ou ka elect pour faire taxou comme yon S Corp. C'est très important tout parce que encore, there are much more advantages le ap fait taxou comme un S Corp que si ou ap fait taxou comme yon small business owner avec yon LLC. Again, all of these different nuances ou stratégies pour ka payer moins taxes, parce que vous connaissez ça que nous avons cherché pour nous payer moins taxes, pour assurer que vous avez un bon comptable qui a bon et information pour faire ça. Et ensuite, lorsqu'on small business owner, on travaille dur en pile, pas vrai, pour élever business là, pour faire business là marcher. Et lorsque fait taxe là, c'est pas seul et on rapport que vous by IRS, taxe là son pouvoir d'achat. OK, m'a dit ça encore. Taxe, c'est pas seul on rapport que vous by IRS. Taxe là son pouvoir d'achat. Ça veut dire que combien cob ou entrer dans business là, combien cob ou été le année a fini, ça pral dire yon banque, ça pral dire yon investor, how much or how profitable your business is. and the way that you do your taxes has a lot to do with that.
Dr. Blumer, creating these entities is not only about taxes, right? It's also about protection, right? Because I can start my business just as Fritz Charles and start selling whatever I want to sell. But then if something goes wrong, people could come after my house. People could come after my savings for my children. They can come after my family by suing me and things of that sort. And when you have a LLC, S Corp, or C Corp, you are protected from that because, people will go after the entity rather than the individual. And that's also very important.
Exactement, Charles. Fritz ou bien dit, ça fait ou créer cooperation because you want to make a distinction between the individual who owns the business and the business. Pas vrai? So ça veut dire comme ça que if I am Naomi Blemure LLC, bon différence entre Naomi Blemure LLC et Naomi Blemure. So si on a fait un business avec Naomi Blemure LLC, on bagaille pas marcher bien, ou sous Naomi Blemure LLC. Mais asset que Naomi Blemure gagne, as long que moi te gérer business là comme une entité pour compte li ou pas ka, you cannot penetrate the business to come to me. The business itself will pay the liability, whatever it is, and that's it. Mais si que ou gon bagay ki les piercing the corporate veils, ça veut dire ça que même sous une entité a sous mélanger ou commingle l'argent yo, moun nan ka non seulement go after the business, but they can go after you too. So while you are looking to protect your assets as an individual and the business, you have to make sure that you separate the two and you operate them individually and you make sure that there is no correlation so that you can have that protection. Laurent?
Bon, là, il entre, je crois que nous bien comprendre le système taxe américain. Hein? Donc, tout le monde qui veut incorporer une compagnie, il faut le prendre ça en considération. Et là, on a parlé avec Jim, on a parlé avec Fritz, on a parlé avec Naomi, on a parlé de start-up. Donc, start-up, c'est un moyen pour le monde lever à terre tout. Parce que il y a des start-up qui commencent chaque minute, chaque temps à travers le monde. Ou pour un pays même, avec Kenya, Afrique du Sud, Nigeria, des entrepreneurs qui commencent avec zéro, par exemple, on banque de coucou d'avec, qui sont petits banques, qui commencent son app, et puis je dis à la qui vaut, banque là peut-être pas vaut 500 millions de dollars. OK? Bon, je ne sais pas combien de banques en Haïti qui évaluation ça, je ne vais pas faire polémique avec banque en Haïti. OK? Mais pour me montrer que les pour un risque, OK, ils ont investi ils font start-up, et puis start-up là vaut 500 millions de dollars américains. OK? On a parlé de une banque Nigeria qui est le Kuda Bank, Kuda Bank. Et il y a un conseil à faire à travers le monde. Baron en Haïti, il faut parler avec le gouverneur Jean-Baden Dubois, pour qu'on ait, eh bien, est-ce que il y a même monde qui a une licence digitale en Haïti, mais ça a son barrage à faire à travers le monde. Donc, this is something that's going on throughout the world, and should be definitely considered in Haiti to incentivize fintech. And not only in Haiti, but in all the Caribbean, and it's already happening in Africa. So now I'd like to turn it over to Fritz to talk a little bit about, now that now that you have your idea, now that you've incorporated, hopefully, following Jim's advice, following Naomi's advice, now you have to get your name and your company known, okay? And who better to talk to about this than somebody working at Instagram, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, Fritz, because let's say now, what are the statistics in terms of advertisement on Facebook, advertisement on Instagram? What are the benefits of that? Qui sont les bénéfices pour moun faire réclame? On va faire pour Instagram, soit ou même, et qui sont pour un entrepreneur qui ont start-up, OK, commencer à faire réclame sur Instagram avec Facebook.
Yeah, so Instagram has 2 billion people. And it's a huge audience.
Combien elle gagne? 2 billions?
2 billions.
2 billions.
Billion.
Maman,
Not
2 milliards. 2
million.
milliards de clients, mes amis.
So it's huge. Everybody's on it. And it's free. That's the most important part. So if you want to do advertisement on the radio or newspaper, you have to pay for that. On Instagram, you could just start a page and get a following. But obviously that could take time, right? And so if you want to speed it up, then there's also, you could pay Facebook or pay Instagram to advertise your business to the followers. But that doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money. You could spend $5. You could spend $10 to spread your business, right? You could also do partnerships, right? So you could reach out. If you know your audience is a fan of a certain compas singer, or of a fan of a certain of the PM Laurent, you can try to reach out to the different influencers and pay them to promote your business. Not all of them are open to that, but many of them will be. And then you could do things like leveraging things like IG Live, right? Where you could go live. You could tell people about the problem you're solving, because your business is to solve a problem. And then bringing them along the ride, making them feel that they're part of your business. Show them your office, show them your factory, show them you speaking to suppliers and things of that sort. And then they'll be more vested in your business. And Instagram is a free platform that allows you to do it. And you don't need a whole team. You just have your phone, and you do it wherever you are. So that's some of the power of leveraging Instagram to grow your business. It's global, it's huge, it's free, and also there's some paid options that are very, very affordable. I think, but while I want to pivot. So, PM, you mentioned Africa, and we have Jim here. I wanted to hear more about some of the things that he's been doing in Africa, and maybe some of the lessons that he's seen in Africa, and some of the problems that are being solved in Africa that Haitian entrepreneurs could derive some inspiration from.
Is that a question for me?
That's a question for you,
yeah.
So I'd love
sure.
to hear more about what you do in Africa, and also any potential parallels to Haiti.
Well, so in Africa, we inspired by the experience and learnings from Haiti, we're investing quite a bit in Africa, and we do it in a number of different ways. We invest in entrepreneurs directly and startups directly as equity investors, but we've also created a company, Untapped, that's trying to solve or is solving the problem that I, as an entrepreneur in IT, faced in 2012, which is, how do you grow your business? Where do you get the capital to grow your business? In a place like the United States, there's lots of capital. And it's easy, relatively speaking, to get money to grow your business. If you're in Haiti, it's very hard and very expensive. In Kenya, it's not quite as hard, but it's still hard. In South Africa, it's still hard, especially if you're not in the system
very
already.
Hard. In South
very
Africa.
hard. Very hard. And so there is, fortunately, a wave of what I call digitization. Everything's getting connected to the internet. And that is actually creating an opportunity to provide financing to people in ways that wasn't possible even 5 years ago. And so what we've created is a model that we call smart asset financing that gives companies like Loaiti or other companies that have a capital need or the need to grow with capital in a way that's much easier than just going to a bank. And so that's what we've done. And I believe that emerging markets, and many of those emerging markets are from Africa, are really the next 20 years, 20, 30 years of investing. That's where so much of the growth is going to be. We already see it, just like Kuda Bank, as Laurent mentioned earlier. Great opportunities to be part of this digital wave, create value, and help entrepreneurs solve problems in their own communities. And so I think some of the learnings that, to the second part of your question, learnings for some Haitian entrepreneurs I used to say this a lot when I was often in Haiti, which is, I think when you look at investors and investors want to make money. And oftentimes that comes down to the size of the market that you're investing in. And a lot of people say, oh, but Haiti is such a small market. What opportunity is there really? And I think one of the big advantages that Haiti has that people, I think, often overlook is that, right or wrong, good or bad, it is a developing market that is close to the United States, but operates very much like emerging markets around the world, like in Africa and Southeast Asia and South Asia. And there's an opportunity for Haitian entrepreneurs to create businesses that address problems that are endemic, that are common to many markets around the world. Problems in Kenya, problems in Nigeria, problems in Indonesia, and to help American businesses figure out solutions to those problems. So Haiti could be a great innovation point for creating solutions that can be not just for Haitians, but for people all around the world that have similar problems as Haitians do.
So Haiti as an incubator of sorts.
Haiti as an incubator for understanding emerging market problems, or I should say emerging market solutions. That is not being exploited enough. Haiti is an hour and a half from Miami. Haiti is 3.5 hours from New York. American companies should be all over it in learning about what works and what doesn't work in Haiti. And so I would say that is a call to arms, if you will, for entrepreneurs. Find solutions, start companies that address problems that you know the 5 billion people in the world that live under similar socioeconomic conditions that they face every day, and help American companies like Google or even smaller ones find solutions for them.
Jim,
and if you do that, you will get bought. Sorry.
Jim, I have a question for you. I studied international business for 2.5 years in Europe, and one of the subject matters was BRICS, emerging countries that are part of the emerging markets, and they came up with BRIC: Brazil, Russia, India, China.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really understood why Haiti was not identified as an emerging market, because some of the key things they were underdeveloped, they had a mass population, just like these countries, but for whatever reason, the powers that be, right, did not want to recognize us as one. With your experience doing business here in the United States and in Haiti, why do you think that is? And what is something that you think we can do as Haitians living here in the United States, having the ability to probably do business in Haiti to change that narrative?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would say that's a very good question. And it's a really difficult one, because I have spent, and I still do spend energy and time trying to change the narrative on Haiti. Haiti has so many amazing, beautiful places, and it has amazing talent and people, but all people see are kidnappings, earthquakes, hurricanes, and poverty, right? And it's hard to change that narrative, because there is that in Haiti. And yes, people focus on that, but I think what we need are success stories. And you need successes to be able to highlight. And it's not that there aren't any, there are, of course, but I think one of the challenges is, how do you make those success stories relevant enough to global investors so that they care? And the reason why I talked just a second ago about Haiti being a gateway or a stepping stone or an incubator or a window to the rest of the developing world is, as much as we want people to just simply care about Haiti, investors care about making as much money as they can. And in order to do that, you have to appeal to them with a big market. And so, unfortunately, for many international global investors, Haitian market isn't quite big enough. But if Haiti is a window to 5 billion people, then it changes. It's different. So unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you on how to change the face for Haiti. But I do think that making or creating very relevant, very compelling investment propositions for global investors who aren't there just to donate money, but who are there to make money. I think that's what Haiti needs to do. And that's the government that needs to do that. That's civic leaders in Haiti. That's even the international community. They need to do a better job of fostering innovation and creating a healthy business environment so people can start businesses, succeed, and invest.
Well, that's, I mean, I'll testify to that. And
that's what you did so well when you were a PM.
Well, that's one of the things that is the most important is, is establish, first of all, what you want for your country. What do you want for Haiti? Because if you're going to change the narrative is going to be changed by Haitians, by the government, by the leadership, as to what type of country do you want. I mean, do you think that...
Can I just say one comment? When you were a PM, you created Doing Business in Haiti campaign. Haiti is open for business, and you created some great media assets. I thought that was beautiful and wonderful, right? More of that is needed, right? Telling the story that already exists, that needs to be done. And I think you did an amazing job when you were a PM. But we also need more success stories. And we also need more Laurent Lamothe as PMs telling that story to the rest of the world.
Well, thank you. One of the, having been in that position, I can tell you that it's not difficult. It's not difficult if you have the will to do it, if you, love your country and want to put the country first, to advertise and spend resources in advertising your country. Just like, Jamaica, for example. Why is everybody going to Jamaica? Is it because it's safer? No. Because Jamaica is spending a lot of money and has beautiful places and is showing them to the world. It's not showing burning tires every day. It's not showing the gangs operating or Matissan qui bloqué. We have national numéro 2 bloqué. Because exactement, for get toi moun yo kidnappé. Parce que ça moun yo pa reprendre. Leur montre image ça yo. Moun nan pense que alors moun politicien ou bien gang nan ka fait action ça, li bon pour lui. Mais li détruit Haïti. L'idée, question gang nan, question de gang a opéré, de question de Matissan bloqué, ben ça son image négative qui détruit l'image pays. Donc, est-ce que nous capables attirer investissement, nous capables créer job pendant que moun qui cap vinn buy job là, the person that's creating the job might not even make it to his hotel. How is that? So this is where we have to take, the responsibility into our own hands. And whatever government is there, my government was very, aware that things needed to be done in a certain way to fight. There was zero gangs. There was zero gangs. There should not be a country where you have gang rule. That should never happen. Nobody, let me tell you, you guys that are watching the show, you think that in Africa there is gangs. There is no gangs. Okay? There is no gangs in Rwanda. There is no gangs in Kenya. Okay? Or if they are there, they are not in the mainstream. They are hiding.
They're not controlling the mainstream narrative.
Exactly. So you have to spend resources, your diplomacy, your ambassadors have to be talking about what your country has that's good, because Haiti has plenty of good. But the good is overshadowed by the bad. And people like to talk about the bad. That's the problem. So that
there's also an industry around talking about the bad as well.
100%. And that industry affects everybody. It affects the jobs, it affects the poverty level, it affects the psyche, the morale. People are discouraged, people are leaving Haiti. Many people have their life, invested in Haiti. They cannot even go to work. That has to stop. You have a bunch of good people that want to, invest and create jobs in their country, but they need to find a country that's conducive to that, and they need people need to understand that if you love Haiti and if you want to create jobs in Haiti, first of all, the laws need to be adjusted. So it cannot be a one-person effort. It needs to be, basically a society-wide effort. And people are more interested in changing, in criticizing, in downplaying, rather than building, rather than showing the good example. For example, how come in the past 10 years, we probably had 3 or 4 laws voted? How do you change a country like that? 10 years, 3 laws, okay? And then those 3 laws, they were passed, we managed to pass the electronic business law. Now they can recognize an email as part of doing business, because before it was all handwritten. Like if it was not handwritten, if it was typed, it wasn't good. It has to be handwritten. How do you develop a country like that? So that needs to be changed. So the narrative, to answer that, Naomi, it's in Haitians' hands. Okay, and it's nobody's hands. We have to take responsibility. We have to take the bull by the horn and then make it happen as the only way. And then you're gonna see Jim is gonna do GLOW. Okay, then he's gonna do the Haiti. Jim has a very nice fund that he didn't talk about called the Africa Opportunity Fund, which is investing in CapEx. Jim gon gros fond créé le Africa Opportunity Fund qui investit dans compagnie, qui investit dans CapEx compagnie qui besoin d'acheter inventaire, compagnie qui besoin financer des futurs achats, et même second fonds qui fait ça. Mais il va faire en Haïti, il fait en Afrique. Parce que, OK, business qu'en Haïti, il y a un pile problème avec question d'insécurité, de kidnapping, et puis, bah, il n'y a pas clair, OK, et puis, monsieur Cabaret, route Cabaret a bloqué 2 fois par semaine, OK, donc, qui j'ai bon maintenant, on vient faire business pour créer job, et puis, c'est mon Cabaret qui a bénéficié encore, c'est ça pour nous comprendre, non? C'est eux qui ont perdu, leur job qui a pris, c'est eux qui ont fait un job, ensuite, leur job, c'est eux qui ont perdu. Donc, il faut que nous prenions destiné nous avec dans main et puis nous dit, monsieur, OK, il faut la faire ton l'autre champ. OK? En tout cas, je vais parler de ça, on a parlé de start-up. OK, mais environnement politique là, est important dans start-up là. C'est très important. The political environment, the legal framework is extremely important in the startup world. I know that in Haiti, there is an organization called Bunge that's pushing startups, and then there is the Haiti Tech Summit. So there is many initiatives that are happening, but all of them, they must be affected by what we're discussing now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I would love to, I think it's my very sincere and deeply felt wish and desire that one day that we can apply all the things that we're doing in Africa, investing in Africa, back in Haiti. I wish I could say that I could do that today. And I unfortunately can't say that I can today because the currency is too unstable, because the security environment is unstable, because of many, many reasons. But I do have this very sincere hope that one day we'll be able to go back to Haiti, that I will be able to go back in Haiti and invest in Haiti like I did in 2012.
Well, that would be a good thing for the youth. It would be a good thing for entrepreneurs, because I'm sure you have, Marc-Alain Boussico that I see on Instagram, everywhere pushing startups and everything. And, I applaud what he's doing, because what he's doing is
absolutely
is doing miracles, because to have investments in a situation like this is certainly not easy. So I applaud the work that he's doing, and I applaud.
He needs to be on the show.
Yes, he's a force of nature. Marc-Alain is certainly a force of nature, and he definitely needs to be on the show.
He has an open invite. Everybody. Actually, if you have a, si nous gon startup tout, nous voulons parler dans show. This show is open to everybody. Okay, send a DM to any one of us, and you'll be more than welcome. Marc-Alain, Christine, they're all welcome on the show. The Haiti Tech Summit, we discuss startups. I mean, this is an innovation show, and nobody will discuter sur le problème Haïti. Parce que ça, this is a global show, and we want to talk about Africa. We want to talk about Caribbean. We're gonna have guests also from the Caribbean, from Barbados. Parce que it's good for other countries to see what Haiti is doing, and for Haiti to see what other countries are doing. So they learn from it. This is an education channel to show that innovation in technology is the future of our emerging world, and how much change is going to bring to the world. And it already is changing our world every day. So we don't have a lot of time. We had an hour. We had an hour and 1 minute. So le mot de la fin for Naomi, Fritz, and Jim.
Bon, le mot de la fin, I just would love to make sure that everyone knows, là, in the United States of America, 47.5% of individuals who are employed by small businesses. So ça veut dire que 58.9 million employees in the United States work at a small business. So en anglais, je vais dire que 45.5%, ça veut dire ça presque 50% nan moun kap travay ici son small business qui bal travail. Okay? Businesses with less than 100 workers employ the largest share of American workers. So sou en Haïti, ou ka wè que bon, c'est pas small business kap mène. Même ka di ça qui ici aux États-Unis, ça fait pays à jeune ça fait pays à prosperous, c'est que plus que environ 50%, okay, nan moun ki employé by yon small business. So sou jwenn yon problème, chache yon solution. Et solution sa ou ko jwenn nan, di ka vin your purpose, bi de vie ou que ou pote solution ça, et à la fin, ou fait l'argent avec. Merci.
Yeah, to echo that point, start with the user problem, start with the need, create a solution, and you will be rewarded by it. Everything that we see and everything we enjoy was something that an entrepreneur or somebody that was an innovator created a solution for. The house we live in, the roads that we drive on, the cars we drive, the planes that we fly on. These were all started with a vision, a solution to a problem, and then grew into businesses. So there's nothing that's stopping you to do the same, especially if you're in Haiti and you find that there are problems around you. You can create a business, a startup to solve those problems.
And what I would say is I would like to second what you said earlier, Laurent, which is the solution, the future success is in the hands of Haitians. It's in the hands of Haitian entrepreneurs, in the hands of Haitian leaders, hands of the Haitian government. It is not in the hands of outsiders like me, of Blanc like me. We can't be trusted. The only thing to get Haiti, to create a better future for Haiti, are Haitians. And so I really challenge Haiti and the leaders of Haiti to create an environment that I can invest in Haiti again.
Well, that's what we all hope, certainly. Mais, what ça m'a dit moi-même, c'est que li temps pour que nous comprenions que nous gagnons un pays, nous gagnons un peuple, nous gagnons une jeunesse, nous gagnons toute une population en dedans tant coup dehors. Diaspora tant que moun en Haïti qui gagne un bail en commun, c'est amour de pays, c'est gens aimer pays, c'est gens aimer pays en développé, c'est gens aimer pays en marché. M'pa que fait personne plaisir image que n'a regardé de Haïti là ces jours-ci. OK, n'a parlé d'assassinat en président, n'a parlé de gang qui finit envahir pays, si c'est pas gang c'est kidnapping, si c'est pas kidnapping c'est route qui bloquée, si c'est pas route qui bloquée c'est caoutchouc qui a boulé. Enfin, faut que bah ça fini. OK, pour que nous capables commencer faire plus start-up, OK? Pour nous commencer voir ti moun nou l'école, pour l'éducation yo ka fait, pour que nous gon pays encore créer les pays. Donc là, jodi a, OK, we had a show focused on startups. the benefits of startups, strategies as to making your startup more efficient, because the whole point of startup is to have the ability to raise capital, c'est accès à financement. Donc, il y a un plus gros problème que dernière fois, m'entendu Marc-Alain Boussico qui a parlé de startup en Haïti, il a dit que son problème d'accès au financement. Donc, comment vous résoudre le problème ça? Au moins sur le court terme, parce que à long terme, vous avez fait là, on l'autre gens. Mais Jim lui-même dit une solution comment pour faire ça. Donc dans souhaité que nous tendions Jim sont gros investisseurs liés. OK, ce sont investisseurs multinationaux, investis dans plusieurs pays, plus des millions de dollars d'investissement. Donc ils connaissent ça la parler. Donc fortement il y a des gens qui connaissent ça la parler. OK, que nous prenons comme modèle, comme conseiller pour que nous capables réussir, grandir entreprise nous parce que chaque haïtien sont anti-entrepreneur. Chaque Africain sont anti-entrepreneur. And there is a lot of similarities between Haiti and Africa because we're all entrepreneurs and we want, we're all creative, innovative people. So now let's get our act together, okay? And let's do it right. Access to capital, now you have at least one more option of what to do to have at least a chance and opportunity to have access to investors. There is thousands of examples. Kuda Bank is an example of, having a local Nigerian bank with international US investors. And then you have so many others. So I want to take this opportunity to thank, wholeheartedly Jim Chu for, spending this hour with us, sharing, educating, success stories, things that work, and strategies to help you that are watching the show. So we're on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's very important as we're growing this channel. It's also a startup that we're doing in this sense because I wanted to contribute back some of the experience that we got and that we get to share it with you all that are watching. Donc merci beaucoup Naomi. Et moi merci tout et Skylight Films, ok, qui fait belle production ça tout le monde dit au moins choix belle là mais c'est Skylight Film qui a frappé. Et moi merci Régie à tout. Moi merci tout le monde qui contribue pour que Innovation Zone vienne rester innovante. Merci en pile et à la prochaine pour 4e épisode là.
Merci en pile Laurent.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Until next time.